Welcome to another broadcast of the American and Christian Truth News Network broadcast. Please subscribe, like, and share.
Welcome to the American and Christian Truth News Network. I'm your host, Tony Franklin, and this is the Franklin News Angle, whereby each broadcast we discuss issues that affects us in politics, entertainment, religion, and societal issues that affects us as everyday American citizens. Is there an attempt to destroy our food processing plants across America and in other nations? Why are so many food processing plants catching on fire or being hit by small airplanes? And this is not being told by the mainstream media or by Washington, D.C. to the American people. Why are there still so many ships stranded off the coastline waiting to deliver goods and services to the American people? Is this something that we should take great concern about? This is what we're going to be discussing today on the American and Christian Truth News Network. It is wake up time. Fellow citizens, is there an attempt to sabotage our food processing plants and cause this great food shortage that is being spoken of across our nation? Before this broadcast is over with, I'm going to read you a list of several food processing plants that have either mysteriously caught on fire or had small aircraft crash into them. That's right, small aircraft crash into them. There are lies being told, and there are secrets being held, and there are devilish things that I believe in others that are at work regarding our food processing plants. And when I get through going through this broadcast, hopefully you as citizens will be as I am, not only appalled, but excuse the expression, quite pissed off. There are food processing plants mysteriously burning down. There has been an abnormal number of fires that have occurred at food processing plants in 20 and 21 and 20 and 22. Following Joe Biden's announcement that food shortages are going to be real, food processing plants catching on fire now becomes a new trend that most people find weird already. Some are even suggesting it's all engineered. But by who? We don't know yet. Is it all a coincidence? Well, when I get through reading my list of research on these plants, you as I won't think so. Here is the message himself by our president admitting that there are going to be food shortages in our nation.
With regard to food shortage, yes, we did so talk about food shortages, and it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia; it's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well.
Now, that you have heard a recording of our president admitting that there are food shortages and that they're imposed on other nations, on Russia, and that they will affect the European nations as well as our nation as well. That is his way of maybe trying to blame Russia for these shortages. But make no mistake, these things were on the rise way before Russia invaded Ukraine. And that is what I mean when I say there are lies being told and secrets being held. And we, American people, have got to wake up and start looking into the truth. Because since the beginning of this year, there has been a high number of food distribution and processing facilities catching on fire and creating massive damage at these facilities. It has been drawing a lot of attention lately on social media, Twitter, and in particular, a trend occurring in numerous food processing plants. They're just catching mysteriously on fire. While some of these plants have been able to bounce back, others are stuck trying to rebuild and resume distributing goods and even laying off employees. Food processing plants in San Antonio, Texas, Lackawanna County, St. Clair County, Illinois, Salinas, California, El Paso, Texas, and more have exploded mysteriously into flames in the last several months. While these incidents made the headlines in local news, there are hardly any national networks or outlets that are putting the pieces together and asking what is going on here. Why are our news medias not talking about the tremendous number of food processing and distribution centers that are mysteriously exploding, catching on fire, and planes crashing into small aircraft? Why has not our political leaders in DC, Democrats or Republicans or independents, notified us of this fact? Yes, there is going to be a massive food shortage coming to our nation. And brothers and sisters of America, we not only need to prepare, but we need to get up off our butts and start asking questions from our political leaders. An explosion occurred at Shears Foods several weeks ago in Hermiston, Oregon, an award-winning private brand and contract manufacturer that makes various types of snacks. There are only 20,000 people living in Hermiston, and this processing plant was one of the largest employers in the area. This location is the only Shears location on the West Coast. Nobody was killed during the fire, but there were 7 workers at the building at the time that were taken to a nearby hospital. They're either stable now or in fair condition. We have yet to hear an explanation about why this explosion happened at this distribution facility or any of the others that I'm going to read off my list. But this is just the beginning, citizens. As we've seen many other food processing plants burn to the ground over the last several months since the beginning of this year and into parts of last year, and yet our mainstream media, neither has DC reported on any of these strange coincidences. This is an odd occurrence. 18 U.S. food processing facilities burned down in the last 6 to 8 months. This was mentioned in the Wall Street Journal on April the 21st, 2022. Meanwhile, our president blames these shortages on sanctions due to the Ukraine and Russia war. But that doesn't seem like a good enough explanation from much of the individuals on Twitter, and other social media sites. Biden, with regard to the food shortage, has mentioned, as I played a vocal clip from him, it's going to be real. One of the only journalists that are talking about this occurrence is Tucker Carlson. He interviewed Jason Rantz on his Fox News show to shed light on these destructive fires. He even pointed out that a plane actually crashed into a food processing plant. Another food processing plant gets hit, and finally someone is covering it. About time. Here's what Tucker Carlson said. So industrial accidents happen, of course. But this is a lot of industrial accidents at food processing facilities. At the same time, the president is warning us about food shortages. Obviously, when something happens, even so every so often, you obviously hope that there is no significant damage and certainty that no one gets hurt, but you kind of write it off. It's not that big of a deal. Accidents happen. But when you've got well over a dozen food processing plants and distribution centers and warehouses getting destroyed or seriously damaged over just a few weeks at a time when the food shortage is already vulnerable, it is obviously going to be suspicious, and it could lead to serious food shortages. Evia magazine further commented that not to set off a conspiracy theory sirens, but there are a lot of people who are speculating whether this is all planned. After all, this many food processing plants just blowing up out of nowhere is statistically impossible. At the very least, people are questioning why we're not talking about this very strange series of events. How do several large food processing plants in the US just systematically blow up and catch on fire? Fruit processing plants have had accidents, and some have had fires, but not so many in such a short period of time after there's announcements that there is going to be a food shortage. Some people are tying this to Bill Gates, not to science, buying out a ton of farmland across the country. But there is nothing more than speculation to say that these two things are related. Whether this be the case or not, it is being questioned more and more and more by us as American citizens online, and we have yet to hear a reasonable explanation on what is going on. These are fires, citizens, plants just exploding, catching on fire and burning down. I'm going to read you a list right now of all the plants and distribution centers that I so far have been able to find and tell you what has happened to them. On February 28th, Sheeran's Food in Hermiston, Oregon, a boiler exploded. That is a potato chip plant. On 3/13, Nestle's frozen food in Jonesburg, Alabama, a fire hit the plant. That is a major Hot Pocket distribution plant. On 3/16, Wally World distribution plant in Plainfield, Indiana, caught on fire. On 3/28, Maricopa Foods, a pantry in Arizona, caught on fire. On 3/30, Penobscot Micron plant in Belfast, Maine, caught on fire, a major potato plant. On 3/31, Rio Fresco in Texas, caught on fire. On 4/11, East Conway beef and pork plant in New Hampshire, caught on fire. On 4/13, Gem State Processing in Idaho, a potato processing plant. An airplane crashed into it. On 4/13, Tyler Foods in Salina, California, caught on fire. On 4/18, Azusa Standard headquarters in Oregon, caught on fire. On 5/23, Industrial Food Processing Plant, a plane crashed into it. In Solace, Russia, invading Ukraine, several processing plants have been destroyed. On 2/15, the largest soybean plant in the U.S., Claypool in Claypool, Indiana, caught on fire. On 2/15, the Banana Meat Company in El Paso, Texas, caught on fire. The first week of February, in Wisconsin, River Meats Plant caught on fire. On January the 7th, the Nebo Road Poultry Plant in Hamilton Mountain, Ontario, it caught on fire. The Washington Potato Company in Warden, Washington, D.C., caught on fire. On January the 14th, Cariel Nutrina feed mill had an explosion and caught on fire. On January the 1st, Van Drunen plant in Illinois caught on fire. The largest food plant in Taiwan caught on fire. On 12/21, Westside Food Processing Plant in San Antonio, Texas, caught on fire. On the 20th of November in 2021, Maid-Rite State Company in Kansas caught on fire. On 10/13/2021, JBS USA in Nebraska caught on fire. On 10/24 in 2021, Tack Meat Processing Facility in Cobb County, Georgia, caught on fire. In 7/31/2021, Tyson Poultry Meat Plant in Hanseyville, Alabama, caught on fire. On 7/25/2021, the Kellogg plant in Memphis, Tennessee, also caught on fire. On 4/20/21, Smithfield Food Processing Plant in Illinois caught on fire. In 1/12/2021, the Deli Star Meat Plant in Fayetteville, Illinois, caught on fire. In February the 2nd, 2022, the Winston Weaver Company, the fertilizer plant in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, caught on fire. And in March of 2021, Kaula Lumber Food Processing Plant caught on fire. After reading you this list, is that a coincidence where I've read to you over 20 food processing plants, major food processing plant and snack plants, meat processing plants that have either caught on fire or a small aircraft crashed into them or they had boiler explosions at a time when our political elitists are stating that there's going to be a shortage. In addition, why are there so many plants, so many ships still stranded off our coastline? Shipping backups in big U.S. ports are resulting in more goods shortages and prices surging. And they're not likely to resolve themselves until well into 2022 or 2023, according to economists and some business leaders who've spoken openly. Some 77 and more ships are waiting outside docks of Los Angeles and Long Beach, California alone, carrying $24 billion worth of goods, looking to find their way into the American ecosystem, according to Goldman Sachs. The pressures are feeding into the economy, putting constraints on everything from grocery stores to whatever big processing manufacturing plants are left, because mysteriously so many of them are burning down, exploding, or having planes crashing into them, and prices for consumer and wholesale goods are rapidly soaring, well over 8 to 12%. The trends are expected to continue into an inflationary disaster, with the potential of fewer goods that are going to be under our Christmas trees. Those looking for goods shipped anytime soon aren't likely to receive them, and the backlogs are elevating shipping costs are likely to persist at least through mid to next year, because no immediate solution for the underlying supply-demand imbalance at U.S. ports is available by our president and his staff. This, my fellow citizens, is ludicrous. This is something that we should all be very concerned about, and we should all be very vocal about. We have come to the point as citizens to where we sit still and allow things to just take place. without voicing our opinions and making our voices heard the way we should be, to make sure that these individuals responsible for all this are not only found out, but held accountable, and if they're not, booted out of our political structure. And people who are more concerned about our needs are actually put in those offices. You and I, fellow citizens, have got to be more concerned about what is going on in our nation. There is also a baby formula shortage that the news media is not talking about. While our precious infants and our babies are suffering without food, while they're not telling you that pallets of this stuff, pallets of our babies' baby food, are being shipped to the border for illegal immigrants crossing our borders illegally, while our grocery store shelves are empty and bare of baby food to feed our own children. Is this not ludicrous? These are the things that we need to be vocal about, and these are the things that we need to talk about. And we need to start doing it now, before it is too late. Because if we, as the American people, allow disaster to set into our nation and not raise our voices, then it is no one's fault but our own. This is Tony Franklin on the American and Christian Truth News Network.
Thanks for joining us on the Franklin News Angle. Join us every Tuesday and Friday on the American and Christian Truth News Network. And once again, please subscribe, like, and share. The ACTN News Network. Stay informed.